good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Welcome to RGV Aerial Photography's deep dive into images he captured this week around the shipyard and launch site in Boca Chica, Texas. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Starbase Weekly. This is episode 91, and this is Mauricio. I'll pass it along to DJ.
Hey everyone, how are you doing? So, new week, new pictures. I'm very glad to be here, and I'll pass it to IndyStar.
Welcome everybody. Lots of pictures, ground and aerial photos this week, and stacks, destacks, ship testing, cryo testing, all sorts of things happening this week. Joe, take it away.
Hello, Astro Joe here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Starbase fans from around the world. Of course, we've got a great show planned for you today. I want to pass it on to a very special guest commentator today, our favorite Stephanie from down under in Australia.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Starbase Weekly.
Yay!
So we'll get started at Macy's. And we have this awesome new tool Mauricio's come up with. So let us just slide from last week to this week.
So this is what I noticed on the alignment images. People are going to call it out anyway. So yeah, when they're not aligned correctly, the ship articles, testing articles, they shrink. Apparently.
That's funny.
That's fine.
It goes from regular size to small size.
Okay, we'll go to the zoom in photo in a minute.
I think the biggest thing to notice is the fact that that booster's gone. That's pretty cool. I really like these slide over images that we do now.
Yeah,
Well, I think it's the opposite, right? Sorry, DJ, go ahead.
No problem. So, this is perfect for us to understand what's happening on each side, you know? This is awesome.
Mauricio, you
So
were right.
The big obvious change is that Booster 10 is now here at Macy's, and it has undergone a cryo test. And if we have no Rngwatchers around, another thing we noticed is that boosters have a new ullage vent for possible ullage thrusters. That's new on Booster 9 and onwards. We can't see it on Booster 9 because of the hot stage. And that'll help control the flight of the booster.
And I think one of the things that Jax pointed out were those pipes that are coming straight off the top there that are straight across, that go halfway to the dome, but they're like in a cross shape. Those are the new ones you were talking about just now, correct?
Yes, these ones here. So they've always had these vents, and they have a number of uses. One is to help when they fill up the tank, they can drain the gases off the top. But yeah, these new vents, which are possible thrusters, cold gas thrusters.
Is that the same as ullage? No, ullage is hot, right?
Ullage, that is correct. Ullage is the gas part of on top of the liquid is the ullage. And so they would be called ullage thrusters or cold gas thrusters. The gas is going to be hot, but they still call it cold gas.
Fair. And that tank is new too, it looks like, or at least new to me. The one that's in the back on the truck being carted off. Just diagonally to the right of where booster is. Yep, that's the one. That looks new to me. I don't know if you've all seen it.
That's a tanker truck, and I'm not sure. It's got 4 different compartments. I'm not sure what that is exactly.
That looks like water, right?
Yes, it looks like some kind of fluid, no, without pressure. It's not cryo, that's for sure.
No, and it does make sense that it would be water.
So moving over to the berth tank, we can see they're doing some work and they've taken it, put it down on the concrete. We can see some plumbing installed and put through the berm, and it's likely to get hooked up to this spot here to hook up to the GSE equipment. So the last time they did a burst tank, we believe they filled it up with water and added pressure using the GSE system, and then used the FTS. We're unsure if this is an FTS test tank, but it seems most likely.
Yeah, one of the things that we noted was that man lift or person lift or cherry picker, whatever you'd like to call this thing, the thing that's carrying the individual, is slightly above and to the left of where the opening would be, because you can see where the white pipe goes in to feed it air, I guess. I guess it's air being fed in there, correct?
Yes, that's to keep the environment in there nice and cool for the workers.
So it would make sense that it might be for FTS testing, because that's where that individual sort of is currently placed.
Yes, there's a few things that indicate it could be a FTS test. It is something that they have already have done another FTS test since the last flight. So I'm not sure they have to do another one again. I guess that's what's going on there. So I might just start from left to right here, and there's some new road base put in, which will make it easier for the trucks to come and upload. At the moment, the trucks can't get around because of the new berm. There's a new berm too, by the way.
Yes, and these
So the
photos,
trucks.
these photos were taken on Thursday, right? Thursday, September 15th, Mauricio?
That is correct.
14th. 15th, yep.
Sorry, Steph, I didn't mean to interrupt your flow. There was a question about when was the flyover. So we did the flyover. Well, Mauricio did the flyover on Thursday, and then he did ground shots on Friday. So this week, Thursday and Friday.
This area has been cleaned up completely. There was 2 containers and a tent. So we have the 2 new tents here. That could be an old tent, but when we saw last week, these frames, or at least the frame we saw, looked very new. So that could be new, but that one does look weathered now. Look at it again. There was a trench last week opened up, has been filled in. We're unsure what that trench was for.
And it might be it's all covered up now too, isn't it? We were thinking it might be for water, I thought, or maybe conduit, but I think water. No?
It was along here and was heading up into here, and we have no idea.
Fair enough.
There's a lot of things. So they've moved the tent, the big tent, down to here. We saw that last week. They'd moved one section. Now they're both here. Leaving this section to be, looks like storage, which they seem to have cleaned up from up here as well. So we're unsure what that area is going to be used for in the future. And this looks like it's getting used for storage for now. This changes up in the water treatment plant, and not much changed in here either. They've got some. Those racks were there before the tent was moved, if I recall correctly. A big change you'll notice here is they've brought in the steel, which would be for this new building, we would imagine.
Yeah.
And it looks fairly... Go ahead, DJ.
No, I was just going to say that that still we were waiting for it like for 3 weeks now since the concrete base was built. So that's an awesome update for the new offices there.
So it's some fairly decent looking steel in here. It looks quite strong, quite a solid building.
So you think the
there's-
building is going to be for offices, DJ?
That was what they said on the paper that they sent.
Oh, okay.
Like steel made offices or something like that. I need to watch it again, but yeah, it was said like declared offices or something.
I thought there was a thought that white concrete platform on the bottom there might be for a restroom, future restroom of Massey's.
Yeah,
It appears-
could be, you know.
It appears to have plumbing for restrooms here.
But it would make sense even in an office setting. I mean, you got to have restrooms in an office setting too. I mean, one would hope.
It'd be a long day without it. Yes.
Very long day, although there's water to the right, so who knows?
So that's going to be a nice development to keep an eye on as well. And knowing SpaceX, that'll either go very quickly or take a very long time. Moving to the right, we can see that they've removed umbrellas from inside this jail section, and we're expecting to see the payload bay barrel section get tested in here. There was a panel last week has been removed as well, so possibly was a panel to do with the work going on in there. So that's a good indication that the work they've been doing in here is is complete, and we should see the test article arrive in the next week or two. No change on the can crusher area.
Shall we move on? Oh, you wanted to show one last thing. Sorry.
They've been doing work in here, and it seems to be getting complete as well. Speculation is it's to do with sewage or electrical, to do with the sewage plumbing on the pad. But once again, that's only speculation. Before I move on, Astro Joe, is there donations or questions, please?
Indeed, we do. Let's see. Before we even got started, yesterday, Z became a member, a RGV flight supporter.
Yay.
Before the stream started today, Mac UK became an RGV flight supporter.
Yay.
Jim Cabot came in with 1 gift donation. John Dopker went with 5 gifted donations. Depker, sorry. Barry Wood, 1 gifted RGV aerial membership. John Depker came in with a $10 super chat. All aboard, y'all. 91 episodes and going strong. Love y'all. And Jim Cabot, $10. All aboard for 91 plus. Steve Coates for $1.99. Choo choo. 55 Chevy Guy Steve, $10 super chat. Hopping aboard the donation train. Thanks for guiding the show, Stephanie. Jake Winlow, $10 super chat. Keeping it rolling. Rocket Prophet, $10 super chat. Choo choo. Jim Cabot with another gifted membership. Thank you all. I had one question related to Massey's, and it was relating to that gray tanker truck. Is that a Movac truck? I think Movac is a specific brand, or not brand, but a company. But I think it is quite similar to a Movac truck that we usually see, the red and white tankers, since it's coming from that reverse osmosis water plant over there. Perhaps.
I think you're right, Joe. And normally it would say Movac on the truck itself, whether it was what I think it's white or
White and red, yeah.
And Movac trucks generally have a pump on board. This may not have a pump, it may just be a tanker. And because it's in this vicinity, it is more likely tanking either fresh water out, or if there is some kind of waste product from the desalination process, maybe it's taking some of the waste product out.
That's right. We're all caught up.
All right, so now we're moving on to Sanchez. Y'all good with that?
I
Yes.
agree.
Okay, can we see Sanchez?
Yes, ma'am.
So we noticed these parts for the third white table were moved from here, or was it there? Somewhere here anyway, there or there. And there was some legs over here have been moved into here. And if we count them, there's one there, there's 3 there. We find 15 legs here. Other than that, not much has changed in this area once again. Oh, don't know if they were new or not. And moving right along, we can see not much work's going on, so they're possibly doing some of the upfitting work. The same over here, doesn't seem to be a lot going on, so they're possibly doing work inside the actual tables with some plumbing and electrical. And the big thing here is we have the new platform being assembled, which of course goes below the table, and each point of that 5-point star travels up these legs here. And we had a good render from Kiwi last week, which I don't have right now. A couple of new articles. So I'll continue here. There's some screens here as well being assembled for that new table. And we have a new "What is that?" article.
So I couldn't see what that was from the ground shots. In fact, I wasn't really looking for that in the first place. But isn't that the same thing that was around by the ground fabrication building at one point? It was that particular stand that appeared at Sanchez, then it disappeared, and then came back and it was painted white. So is it that same stand that we're talking about?
Yeah, it does have very similar legs, a very similar height. So it does appear to be. Now, whether they're attached or not, of course, we don't know, but it does appear to be, as you're saying, something to do with that as well.
I did, however, get a good shot of that particular. There's a weird object. There you go. It's going to be that one right there. I got a good shot from the mudflats and also from Highway 4. So what are people saying that this is going to be for? Or DJ, have you checked this particular item out? The one we're looking at?
Which one? Sorry, I had cut off just a little. I'm having problems with the internet, but it's solved now, I think.
It's that particular item right there that Stephanie is hovering over. But it seems to be like a platform and then some type of object on top that we can't really figure out what it is from the aerial photos, but maybe we can get a better idea from the ground shots.
So by the looking of it, looks like something for the vehicle, like a thrust simulator or something, because it doesn't have any thrust rams, but or a turntable even.
There was some thought that it might be for the nose cone as well.
Yeah, it could be.
Some kind of jig or some kind of installation. We've heard Jack say it could be for the nose cone. The structure could somehow working with the internal structure of a nose cone. We've had Dave was saying that it could be to help install the header tank into the nose cone. So there's a few different ideas going around as to what it is.
Oh, look at that. It actually has some type of label, but I wasn't aware of that. So it's probably going to be out of focus, whatever. Oh, that's just like a purchase order, I think. You're not going to be able to see what it says.
So does this look new or used?
It looks painted at least. So it could be something that was old, or I don't know. I can't really tell from here.
Showing some signs of age. No, it could be old. So it was seen coming. It's old, I think, because it was seen coming from the Tent 3 area. I think Alaska or Pillowkid saw it actually move from that area, which, because we didn't see it outside, it means it would have been inside a building there, either Star Factory over there or Tent 3. If it came from Tent 3, would suggest that it's something to do with nose cones in particular.
Oh, so you're saying this is something that has already been at Starbase for a while. We just never seen it before since it was inside one of the tents?
It was spotted moving from that area, yes. It didn't come in on a truck. It came from over at the build site, yes. Somewhere from... They didn't see exactly where it started from, but it was from the Tent 3 area. So it kind of indicates it had something to do with nose cones. But once again, we don't know exactly. I'm running a little ahead of time here, so I'm happy for people to talk. We have the old booster adapter for pad A, I believe. They put it on when they put booster 3 up on pad A. It's finally getting scrapped.
That was some time. Wow.
They seem to be quick to build and slow to scrap.
Yeah, totally true. They're going to run out of space if they don't scrap things up quickly.
So scrapped articles here before. There was a booster parts, I believe, were scrapped here. So any questions, Joe, on the platforms, or is there any comments on this new article, Joe?
Yeah, I got two suggestions from Crane Man regarding that mystery article. Could it be a test stand for a single Raptor or RVAC engine, or perhaps a test stand for a header tank?
Well, yes, those are good guesses, but because it came from the Tent 3 area, it strongly indicates it has something to do with nose cones or header tanks, and I would doubt it have anything to do with engines. Obviously, it came from Tent 3. But it may have come up a truck. It may have been dropped off near Tent 3 rather than here. So we really don't know. But they're good ideas. Thank you, Cranman.
Could it be for like the CH4 Hertha installation?
That's one.
You need to lift it up and then weld the trusses that they have to hold it up on the position below the LOX tank, hair tank.
That's a good thought as well. It would need some kind of elevating system in here to lift the header tank up, or perhaps they just sit the header tank on there and then lower the nose cone over it. I don't know that. One thought is they may not have enough height to lift a nose cone on and off this. So, mysterious.
As many things here at Starbase.
Absolutely. So if there's a nose cone on here, and it's inside the tent, they would have to lift it up quite high to get it off here. So yes, just to add some more mystery. So there's a better angle of the adapter, and a bit of a side view. I can see stairs. Or can I? Maybe I can't see stairs. Maybe I'm trying to find things.
You mentioned that it came from the direction of tent 3. Are they starting to clear out the majority of the stuff in there, or?
Definitely seems like it. Seems like they're clearing out a lot of the tent areas.
What else do we have at Sanchez, Stephanie? Let's see here. So you're still by the ground fab.
So we have this concrete was prepared last week. This week it has been poured. We have, this would be Booster 11's transport stand. So Booster 10 early last week or so was for a while ago. So Booster 10 was put into the high bay, mega bay, and then Booster 10 got put onto that thrust simulator, and Booster 11 got rolled into the mega bay 1, and Booster 11 was taken off its stand and put onto Booster 10's stand, and it's thought because they wouldn't have to unbolt the the transport stand that Booster 10 was on. When the stand goes into Mega Bay, they'll bolt the stand down for stability. So to avoid unbolting Booster 10 stand, they've taken Booster 11 off its stand and put on Booster 10 stand, leaving this Booster 11 stand here. I hope that didn't confuse everybody.
So they did a flip flop essentially. So Booster 11 is now at Massey's. No, Booster 11 is now.
Booster 10.
Yes, sorry. Booster 11 is now in the bays, one of the bays. Correct?
Correct. Yep.
And
Booster 10's at most.
There we go. And Booster 10 had cryo testing this week, I believe, right? At Massey's.
Yeah.
Which is new to all of us.
So yeah, Booster 10 had its methane tank only filled up, and I haven't seen, they look like they were going to do the oxygen tank yesterday, but I didn't follow up, I was busy. So there was quite a lot of talk about why would they fill the whole methane tank up with liquid nitrogen, and would that put a lot of stress on the oxygen tank? And I was reading some text chat from Zach, and he assures us that as long as the pressure is correct in the tank, it doesn't matter if the oxygen tank has liquid or gas in it. As long as it has pressure, it can hold the weight of the methane tank. And they've done that before on Booster 9 on the OLM. They filled, at least partly, filled the methane tank up as well only. So there was no danger of the booster being hurt, and it wasn't a test to destruction, as some people may have suggested. Just normal, everyday testing. And we can see the previous versions of boosters don't have those ullage thrusters. Although Booster 4 is a very old iteration, of course.
Very, very old. Yeah.
All right. Is there any questions coming through for Sanchez, Astro Joe?
No, pretty quiet on the questions front. Mando Dave just asked with a 9.99 super chat, Mauricio, on Google Maps, when you look at San Martin Boulevard, there is a type of geographical line going west that ends at a random island. What was that for?
San Martin, that would be over by the village, and those are actually easement lines that were placed there. You know, Thomas was talking about this in Show and Tell that Boca Chica didn't look like this prior to a hurricane that hit. I think it was Beulah, and it reshaped the land pretty significantly around the site. So there used to be land, or there still is land that there's properties out there in the wetlands, and so that was a proposed access to those properties, and it still shows up as public. So it's from the county basically. Those are proposed roads. That's about it.
And John T is asking the road closure for Monday and Tuesday, would that be for Booster 10 to return for engine install? That's what I'm thinking.
That would be nice, and it could possibly be.
Yeah, it could be for even maybe the ship transport, the ship stand to come back here and pick up maybe ship 28. Yeah, and transport it the next day. That was what happened with B10, I think.
The only thing is, Ship 28 has engines, so if it's going it's going to Macy's. They still could do cryo testing at Macy's with it.
Yeah, true. Sorry, ship 29. I meant ship 29. Yeah.
So Rocket Gardens. Oh yes, go ahead, Joe. Thank you.
All right, sorry about that. While we're here, Tony Ugg says, heard they removed the hooks and filled in tiles on SN20. Any idea why? Yeah, good question.
They did do that. I'll have a see if I have a better photo of that. I'll come back to that question just while I'm on this photo. We can see this new system that's been here for a while that keeps the airframes pressurized. We can see the plumbing. So each pad has one of these, and booster 10 or 11, 10 and 11 were here. You can see this was the hoses that hooked them up, and when they're not being used, sometimes they put them on reels. So this one is for this pad. Then there's another one here for this booster 4, and the plumbing comes back. So it looks like this is some kind of control room, and we have the liquid nitrogen tanks here with the evaporators all nicely plumbed in somehow. There's another one of these for this pad. This looks like some kind of temporary power system, not sure. And this week they've dug this bit up. I really don't know why. We'll notice the other ones go to the edge of the pads, so perhaps they're doing something like that for this one. I originally thought this plumbing is, so there must be a pipe through here. If these are fed, these obviously feed the tank pressure, so these have to be fed by this system. So somehow the plumbing goes through to that. Unless gas just mysteriously arrives from somewhere. There's another one here for this ship 20. So there's work here, and this area here has been leveled out, getting ready for concreting. So on this photo, we can see Ship 20's tiles have been replaced. I have no idea why, possibly just for visuals, just to make it look pretty. It could be a test fitting new tile installation methods. I really don't know.
Yeah, we
That
talked.
would be obvious. Yeah.
You all talked about it last week, and that seems to be the most possible answer, that they're just practicing installation methods on those particular areas. At least that seems to be the most convincing reason why they're doing that.
So we have some new turntables for the new, we're guessing for the new bay, new Mega Bay 2. Electrical work is still waiting to be installed there.
So those turntables should be for Mega Bay 2, right?
Yes.
Nice. Nice.
Work continues on Ship 28. It's cute little cowbell vents. They put new vents on the ships we've seen since Ship 30 and 31. We saw them on Ship 30 and 31 over in the ring yard. And in the ring yard or in the bay, and now we're seeing them on Ship 28.
Hmm.
Down towards the bottom there, KMS has a question. What about the white tank? No progress in the last 2 weeks.
Yes, that's correct. It's possibly finished, and it may be in its final resting place. And I guess we're looking for some plumbing. Would be the next thing we're looking for. Which we can't see any plumbing. Oh, let's set some plumbing.
That just looks like stairs. Or not.
Or not? Yeah, I was going to point that out.
There's a manhole.
Yeah, it looks pretty much the same as last week. Honestly, I didn't notice anything different on that white tank. So I think they've halted any operations on it for now. But other than that, how are we looking? The rocket garden looks empty. When I was out there getting these ground shots, it just didn't seem right seeing it so empty like that.
I agree.
I'm so used to seeing all the, covering up I take out my wide angle lens to try and capture all this stuff, and something seemed off at the rocket garden.
Yeah.
It's kind of boring.
That's what happens when you kill 15 and then a bunch of boosters and move them around.
And 27. Yeah. Wow. It is incredible.
But it does look super empty.
Yeah. This is good because we're seeing so many progress for upcoming flights. Booster 10, Booster 11, Booster 12 on the Mega Bay, and maybe even more things coming up soon.
And so this slide over shows September 14th on the left, what we're looking at now, and then September 7th on the right, what you're now showing, correct?
These dates are backwards. We apologise for that.
Oh, so September 7th is on the...
No, they're not. You're right. That is September 14. My apologies. That's correct. That is September 7, and this is September 14. Yes.
Yeah, that is correct. So the newer images on the left, the older images on the right. And these are really cool sliders. I mean, what we do is we basically try and get the same angle every single flyover, and then we go on Photoshop and we align the images. That's why there's a lot of anomalies with the ships being taller or shorter, as you saw in Massey's. That angle wasn't taken. We didn't take the same flight plan, so it was really off. But other than that, I mean, they align pretty good, and it makes our script writing for the episodes a lot easier to notice the differences from last week. So that's pretty much all we do. And these sliders are actually available for Patreons the day of the flyover. So, but I'm thinking about, maybe dropping some of these in the chat so that you all can get to experience, these comparisons, and you can look at these images on your own time. Here's a build site, and yeah, you can see there's a difference in the shadows. That's from last week, and this is this week. So the shadows are obviously, the last week's was taken early in the morning, like around 9:30 a.m. And this week we took the photos around, what was it, like around 12:30ish, 12:40. We flew over the build site. So yeah, there's a big difference in the shadows as well. And yeah, I'll go ahead and drop some of these in the chat at the end of the stream so y'all can check them out.
It's pretty cool too that you see like at the bottom there where the dirt is, how they've they smoothed it over. It seems like in the bottom front.
It's an amazing tool, Mauricio. We can see some work on the new Mega Bay. We can see some rings.
Yeah, it really highlights the changes for sure. And if you keep going to the right stuff, what happens to Star Factory?
That ring stand finally moved.
Are we seeing maybe the end of 10.3?
I mean, it's only a matter of time, right?
Yeah.
And it does seem
Yeah.
like Mauricio said that they are emptying out 10.3, so it's a high possibility this could be one of the last weeks we see 10.3, which is okay with me.
Yeah, imagine like the tent jailed by the the factory. That would be crazy to see.
Well, we won't be able to see anything but the buildings anymore.
True.
So we'll start on Mega Bay 2. So a lot more roof structure has gone in place. We're keeping an eye out, as these could be just roof structure. We're keeping an eye out for the runway for the bridge crane. It should be there. I can't see the runway yet. So the bridge crane rails that are on the ground will be running this way and probably drop through the roof here in this open section. We need the runways installed first before the bridge crane rails go in. We can see some structures being built here and some more parts for those structures. There's 4 there. There's 1 leg missing on that one. There's 4 there, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They are possibly stairs. What do you think, DJ?
About the stairs, so. Very strange.
They definitely look like the frames for the stairs. I don't know if I got some ground shots today, but I did see them hauling away. There was a flatbed carrying something very similar, and they were taking them away. Either that or they were taking them to... No, they were probably just taking them away because they don't need those at Massey's, do they? So...
So maybe, well, there's 2 places we've seen stairs at the tower and here so far. The ones at the tower we think are complete, and they were assembled on the other side of Sanchez. So there could be, perhaps they haven't finished quite, well, they're 8 sections, that's way too many for in here. So that's another mystery.
The thought is that there could be the elevator frame core. That's what Dave is saying.
Okay, that sounds good.
That's
Thank you, Dave.
probably, yeah, pretty spot on there, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a clearer image. I was on the wrong image before. This is a clearer image of the missing runway.
So let's see what else is happening, shall we?
There's some more of those frames in here. So this is a little image I found of the bridge crane. So we're looking for these runways, and we have the bridge rails or girders already. We can see the control box and these on the girders that are on the ground. We're still looking for the trolley, and we haven't seen the end trucks, and we're not sure whether they have an end truck or not. Personally, I think they need an end truck.
Okay, I have to share something because it's pretty cool. I got to walk around the factory where I work, and with the guy who knows all about cranes. And literally, that image that you were showing, he explained it all to me, and I feel like proud that I know what I'm looking at now.
So we can see the control boxes here and a possible walkway, but there'll also be this assembly needs to be in there as well.
Talking about bridge cranes, there was 2 bridge cranes that were delivered yesterday around 12 p.m. So we have footage of that, but these are bridge cranes for the Star Factory. So I don't know if you have those images on hand, or there is one video that we posted here on Patreon, but of them being delivered. But I was out there and I caught that.
No, I don't have that ground photo, Marisha. I'll grab it a bit later. So a few ring sections. So ship 30, I want to say ship 31 now has its common dome. We saw it getting lifted with the old dual lift, where they'll lift this section over and then lift the common dome with it, with a few straps hanging underneath, and lifts them both onto the turntable for welding. 29 has had a lot of tile work on it, so it's looking like it's nice and finished.
Yeah, that's another sign that it might be rolling out to masses on Tuesday. Should be.
Yes, ship 29, that's correct.
Yeah, exactly. And for ship 31, it should the next parts or sections that should be welded on should be the mid locks and engine section, right?
That's correct. We haven't seen the aft section yet. It's still in the factory as far as we know. Rngwatchers had spotted at some stage, but then I went back into the factory. And this would be where Jax would be handy to know which one of these is the midlocks for the ship. We can see they've been putting these rails in the doorway for the possible door, so they're getting through them. I want to say that's Grover, but people seem to get the cranes wrong. I don't always get the cranes right. Is that Grover?
I don't think so. Grover normally has the things on the back. But we can move on. It's okay, whether it's Grover or not.
Some nice different angles for the ring sections. We can see some nose cone sections here. I've had a really good look around. I still can't see the trolleys or the trucks for these cranes. I think, did we see last week there's an elevator here now?
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Isn't that the construction one still, though?
That's an external, temporary. We saw one on high bay for ages on the outside.
Oh, my bad. Crane Man says it is Grover. Says it's Grover with fixed jib. So, wrong again.
Thank you, Crane Man. Crane Man's always a good person to ask about cranes.
He is. He's very helpful with that.
So the work continues on the tent 1 and 2's foundations. It's all been cleaned up.
Lots of rings.
Chip 29 is looking very pretty. Pretty well ready to come on out. The wings, Grover has wings. I think the wings are there.
Crane Man asking if Grover removed any scaffolding on Mega Bay 1 this week.
Doesn't look like anything's missing. I'm not sure whether they've added a little bit or if that was always there. It looks all still to be here. This piece was missing for a number of weeks now. It doesn't look like it, Crane Man, and I appreciate your questions. Okay, on to Star Factory. Unless there's any more questions with the ring yard or the wide bays.
Well, I want to thank a lot of generous supporters. Cosmic with a $5 super chat. Thanks for all you do, Mauricio. Jacqueline gifting 1 RGV membership. John Dupker gifting 5 more. Jeff Rowe gifting another. And Jim Cabot gifting another. Thank you all for that support. And to each recipients, enjoy the perks. Question from Brian Ellenberg. If Booster 10 is less than 150 tons without engines, would this indicate a reduction in mass since Booster 7?
Now we know that Booster 10 is less than 150 tons because it was lifted with a single bridge crane while it was in Mega Bay 1 here. And I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the empty weight of a booster without engines, so I can't answer that question. Perhaps someone else can.
Yeah, I found that interesting that they were able to lift that. But yeah, I think we could go ahead and move on.
So they started working on the higher section. So this steps up twice, steps up from that level up to this level, and then up to a final higher section here. And we see that at McGregor's Road as well. Not McGregor's Road, sorry, at Kennedy's Roberts Road, is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So these parts should be for nose cones, right?
That is what it's looking like, exactly, with extra height.
Yeah, exactly.
They're moving on with insulation and lots of roofing sections going on here, and some Starship eggs over here, which are the raw steel rolls getting ready to be made into Starship. Some more work on the walls. They seem to have been boxing this person's little property up here, and they've given him a nice present of a whole row of toilets. Perhaps on purpose.
Yeah, he needs to move out.
Having all these different angles is a really nice touch, Mauricio. So they put the more air conditioners on top. The crane that reached over there, that was quite a long reach.
Oh, nice.
And we have the pass-through. You can see out here. Last week there was a whole heap of trailers in here that have all been moved out.
Those two holes on the roof, on the very middle, like there. Are those for HVAC, right? Like the smaller ones?
They could be. A thought is that if this is a pass-through for trucks, they're going to need some extraction.
Ventilation.
Yes, ventilate, but usually they'll extract rather than push the fumes down. They'll pull the fumes out. So yes, it's possibly for extraction rather than aircon, but time will
Yeah.
tell. We have a vacuum excavator. Seems to be digging a couple of holes, perhaps to expose services. So any Star Factory questions, Joe?
Stephen Lewis asks, will the last row of Star Factory be even taller? And do believe the answer is yes, based on everything we're seeing.
So we can see the extra height here. So there's a step up from there, and then there's a step up here. These prefab sections will be for this section. As you can see, they put every second section in prefab and then just join the dots with these pieces of steel. And it looks finished up like there.
John Dipker asks, do y'all know how many people are going to be employed at this new Star Factory when fully operational? Don't think we know those internal details from SpaceX, but there's been estimates thrown about during their, what do they call it? The rush,
Enhanced
I don't know.
meeting or something?
They
Yeah.
do. So Jared's trying to say, I think, and we see there's lots of staff at the launch factory the other day. The media releases, I think you're trying to say, Joe.
Yeah, just a generalization on how many employees SpaceX has at Star Factory.
We can see some wall work over on that side. The wall cladding.
And something that I don't know if you mentioned it, that they are painting the roof.
No, we believe that's insulation.
Insulation, yeah.
Philokid, would you mind telling us about what's going on with the roof?
And basically, what you have there is a metal deck, and then they're putting on those those rectangular foam strips, which is the insulation. And then you can see that little brown area there. That's a vapor barrier under the insulation.
Thank you. You're talking about this vapor barrier area here. Very good.
Yes.
That's really cool for hot Texas days.
And Phil, is this the same thing they did on this roof over on Section 2?
Yeah, they're basically the Section 2 and I believe Section 1 were all built the same way.
I like to call them Star Wars, Return of the Jedi. I mean, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Episode 1, because Star Factory is built sort of out of order, much like Star Wars was made out of order.
Yeah, I'll take it. And related to that, Z asks, so because of the guy that owns that land, the Star Factory have to cut a corner out. Is there a chance that they will finish the corner once they acquire the land?
Phil, can you tell me what you know about that court case or whatever's going on there, please?
Well, we know that there is a court case for that piece of property coming up in December, I believe. They'll decide whether or not SpaceX is able to purchase it, or whether they'll lose control over it. Interestingly enough, though, if you look at the wall on the right-hand side of it, you'll notice that in between the major beam columns, there is intermediate columns to support the siding, so that the spacing that on that particular wall is similar to all the exterior walls of the building. So potentially they might not finish that. If they don't get control of that green area, they will basically have a bend in the shape of the building, it looks like.
I was hoping to see it in this photo.
On the far right-hand side there, you can see where the column spacing changes. Gets narrower.
Yep. And they've been painting all the dark grey white in that section. We can see a lot of temporary bracing here to keep this frame nice and square until they put the siding or cladding on, and that will all get removed eventually. There's some permanent, some of these braces over here are permanent, but all this wire stuff in here is temporary. I imagine you would have to be very careful driving or walking through the factory with all these cross wires everywhere, not to lose your head.
not only the head, but many of the equipment. Imagine passing there and and throwing up the entire building because you're pulling off those cables, looking like things.
Oh yeah, you could easily pull this out of shape. Yeah. So I'm thinking we're seeing some beams for runways going in, for bridge cranes. This whole dark area section has, every single post has those. Every second post here I feel it was same because there's an intermediate post on this particular section. So some more manifold has arrived and it has now been delivered. And it could be underneath the hippos, these ones. And in typical SpaceX style, they're prefabbed rather than welded on site.
Are those 3 sections together?
There's 3 pipes. There's 2 sections here with a manifold of 3 pipes, correct. Which is a little bit puzzling because there's only 2. Each hippo has 3 pipes underneath. So these will be for each of the 2 new hippos, maybe on the methane side. There's 4 on the lock side new hippos. Now, I could be wrong with that.
We might see in the future what they do with that. And that,
there's another one.
Yeah, that looks
But that
for
one-
the
That one's
top.
different. Go ahead, DJ.
Yeah, that looks for the top one, right? But all of that was installed. So
No, it's different to a top one.
yeah. Very strange.
The other thing to remember is that at the bottom of the hippos, there's a collection pipe that picks up the nitrogen drainage out of those, I believe. Or is that at the end? Or at the end of the hippos that they collect the nitrogen at the end. That last piece you're referring to went down to the site, I believe, on Friday or yesterday.
Yes, that is correct. I took a photo of it yesterday afternoon.
Nice.
Before we get too much further, a $4.99 super chat from Kim Static. Will the nose cone section be the highest part of the Star Factory? I can see more concrete sections past that.
Do you have thoughts on that, Joe?
Well, I do know the renders and the building that we've seen at Roberts Road pretty well ends where we see the frames at now, I think. Yes, while there is more concrete being poured out beyond that, maybe parking lot may end up expanding the building. I couldn't tell you for sure.
We're talking about here, aren't we?
I do believe that is the point in reference, yeah.
Yeah. So the building, we can see by this section, would be the same length from there to here is the edge of the building. In typical Star Factory style, this will all get concreted around. There could be more another section to go here. And eventually, we imagine there may be built in here, or maybe not.
It is a
They're either
possibility, yeah.
They're either going to have a small drive-through section or a very big drive-through section.
Right.
So for now, the concrete we can see is the building size proper, and then later on we can expect to see some accessory concrete to clean up this dirt section.
So like that, as far as Star Factory goes, you were scrolling through some photos, saw a truck or a trailer with that goat logo that we've seen. J-Tan asking, anybody have an in-depth explanation of the new goat logo? Is it an Ironworkers adopted logo? I think it's just their tower folks, kind of like they have Booster Tribe and things like that. So this is the tower crew, their adopted logo. It's widely used around the internet. I've seen it used on some like college football team or some sort of team. It's a standard, freely available clip art. Actually, is the explanation that I found.
Yeah, we've seen that on the tower in 2 different areas. right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Drawworks building, there's one.
Yep. We saw that on the picture taken from SpaceX of the employees, I think.
But since this photo, that booster stand has been moved into Sanchez. Could possibly be for booster 12.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
So not much changed here. Ooh, shiny object. That's a wide load.
Hmm.
Phil, would they be for the crane to sit on, or were they something structural, do you think?
They're the crane bases, I believe.
Thank you.
I mean, might as well mention, I don't know if you've talked about the little soccer field that was in the previous image to the top. I thought that was kind of interesting and pretty cool. To my liking, I would play in something that small. It's about 2 lots. It's not bad. It's not bad if it's going to be a small team. But I thought that was pretty cool.
Soccer's not all that popular in America, though, is it?
Depends on what you mean by soccer. If you're talking about soccer with the foot and the ball, then, or how Europe and everywhere else in the world knows soccer to be. Wait, not like that. Soccer.
Yeah, no, you can't call soccer in England. They'll say, no, it's football.
Why? What happens? They don't have soccer, right? So football is popular here, more popular than soccer. Soccer is very popular, but in regional areas within the U.S.
Okay.
And it's growing in
Fine.
popularity, that's for sure.
Yeah, totally. And that could be for kids, you know? It is really small, so maybe like how is it called? A park. Yeah, a park for some kids.
Could be. So outside Starlink factory, they've been, I guess it's not Starlink factory anymore, we're calling it integration building. Because as far as I know, there's no Starlinks in there anymore. They've been busy with concrete. That's a lot of concrete to pour in 1 week.
Always more concrete.
And
We
I
need
believe,
to... Yeah.
go on.
No, brother.
I believe that this is the actual roadway here, and it's getting built higher than the concrete. Is that right, Philip? That's the road here?
I believe that's the right of way from the on the county map, yes. And Thomas was talking about the area to the right of that being potentially used as additional parking for SpaceX. And that's why they were lengthening the road. And SpaceX apparently owns some properties down there, but there's still several private owners down that road also.
So this would help those private owners with easement, with access. And not much going on in the crane yard.
Oh, I do want to mention that they brought the pest. What are we calling that container? The pest loader, or
Yes.
the Starlink loader, or whatever. Yeah, they brought it back to that particular area. I think previously they had it at in that location where you're. Yeah. So as of yesterday, they have it staged over there by the integration building.
So now they have the concrete here, they can bring those sort of things back. So they're out here, as Thomas was saying, there's some SpaceX land, and so this will be possibly for some car parking.
Yes, that area right in there in particular. That's what some scuttlebutt that he had heard was. And as you can see, there are trails back there that are used by locals.
And the locals want to go out. Go ahead, Joe.
I was just saying that answers Forge Gamer's question.
Very good. Okay, moving on to this test article, or whatever it is. We can see that this header tank from a booster has been cut down and has vanished. We originally thought that may be something they might install inside to simulate a airlock, perhaps. I'm not really sure, but anyway, it's been cut and disappeared. It's looking nice and pretty in white. No, some people say it looks ugly. I think it looks like an orca.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see it until people started doing comparison images on Twitter or wherever, and of the orca breaching or whatever you call that action where they get out of the water, right?
Breaching.
And yeah, and it does look like really there's a resemblance there. But other than that, I mean, there's not much going on with that nose cone as of yesterday. It's just been painted over. They don't seem to be working on it, as far as I can tell. And yeah, now they have 2 hovercraft. Actually, I see 3 in that picture.
Yep, 2 large ones and a small one. In previous flyover, we saw one of these hovercrafts getting worked on in the vehicle maintenance building here.
Nice.
I've only seen the smaller one in use when I've been out there, but they were actually taking off over by the west side of Sanchez. That's where they were taking off. And the other 2, one of the times that I was out there when they were painting the nose cone, I saw that the fan was moving. So I was waiting for it to take off, but apparently it had just got in there. So I got there a little bit late. I wanted to get some action shots of it moving across the bay, the wetlands. But yeah, nothing much going on over here as far as we can tell. Are you all ready for the launch, or is there anything else we need to cover here?
Before we leave the launch, before we go to launch site, Astro, is there any more questions or donations?
I got one from Stephen Lowry. Any sign of the tracking dishes? And I think the simple answer is no. They're probably not going to be relocated. They're probably obsolete now.
And there was another question that was misspelled the command. Is that what's the round disc shaped item by Starlink building?
Thanks for catching that, DJ.
No problem, my friend. So, Steph, can you show the Starlink building so we can see what's that? I think it was from the front. I don't know. Oh, I think he means the big to the top left, right, sorry. So it's out of the I think it's to the very right, like on the grass. There. I think you can see it. Like the big there. Up there. Exactly that. I don't know if you guys know what that.
That's an abandoned water tank that was used back when Boca Chica Village was a village before SpaceX.
Very interesting. I hope we answered your question, Mando.
It looks very short, but things from 10,000 feet do look short.
Yeah.
All right, so we're at the launch site now. Left picture is going to be September 14th. The right picture is going to be September 7th. So just ignore the date on top. I totally messed up on that. I didn't realize till a few days ago.
Yeah, so that's old and that's new. Old, new. Old, new. This never gets old. It's absolutely a ripper of a tool, Mauricio. So you can see work on the wall is pretty well completed, and they're cleaning all the boxing up. We can see all those timbers here, over here now. I'll come back to some aerial photos in a minute. I'll just go over some basics. We've got some work in this area. We have a ship, or a bullet, or a part of a ship, or a thing we're calling a ship.
The ugly ship, yeah.
The Rngwatcher's favourite article.
Is that true? Oh my god.
No, some of them don't like it. We have some work on the concrete area here.
And
work
some
on the
parking lot.
deluge. Like I said, I'll come back in a minute. I'll just go through this quickly. We see a D-stack, obviously. And this photo shows the cleanup work has been going on over here. And I think that's to keep the environmental people happy, if that's a possibility.
Please, please, please. So yeah. There you can see like the wall, the trench. It is it trench? No, the perimeter wall. It's mostly done.
Yep, it's base, that's low area, that's low-lying land, and the height is similar to the height of the suborbital tank farm here. So we are guessing that is going to be all filled in level, and this will be in fact a retainer wall. Those the timbers we saw before, bracing and the boxing, are all in this area here now. There's some boxing and some timbers for bracing. Some work has been done here, possibly drainage related. Not sure there.
Yeah, it could be. And what do you think is that? Yeah,
this whole area's been worked on, the groundwork done. Possible foundations, possible conduit. What do you think, Billy?
We thought it might be conduit and or electrical, simply because it's of its nature. And the other option that it might be was potentially drainage, because of that retaining wall that we're putting up. It appears to stick up about 3 feet above the finished grade when it's finished. And so they might be putting catch basins in there, but we haven't seen them put in the square boxes yet. So either water catchment for runoff and or electrical for maybe a future building.
The drainage idea sounds quite plausible, given they'll put a drainage point here, 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 and here, and then hook them up with drainage on a fall. Which one way or the other, probably towards. Would they drain out into the swampland pillar?
Well, they would probably. Well, technically, they should run it to a catchment basin to let out the sand and everything else settle out, much like they've done at the launch pad over by the OLM. But again, they're not finished. They might just be putting in the pipes for the future.
Thank you.
I don't know if you all saw the proposed expansion and the labeled map that the I think it was the Army Corps engineer that they did, a map that was out there. And that particular area, it did say, again, this is just what the map says, and the plans could have changed, but it said expanded suborbital pad GSC farm, approximate elevation 13. That's what they had in mind when it was released. I think it was last year.
And
Yeah.
the finished grade they're doing over there is about 13. So, from that standpoint, it could be prep work for that or even a future pad C.
So the vicinity, with, I've heard people say it may be too close for a pad, but if we look at pad A, it's quite a lot closer. With the berm going through, it could possibly be a test pad C.
Yeah.
Or not. I don't know.
And then over by the wall, that area that's being cleared out, it does say that it's going to be perimeter access road. And that's about it. Road crown, approximate elevation 7 to 7 feet. But we can definitely see that that's more than 7 feet that the wall extends, or maybe 7 feet at the elevation at the road.
Are you talking through this area, Mauricio, through here?
Yes, and also back towards where Patsy is at. So if you all the way to just the perimeter of that newly added area and where the wall is at, that's where it says there's going to be a perimeter road, perimeter access road.
Okay, for future access to something over here, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mauricio.
We had always sort of seemed to felt it was a security road, so they could patrol the perimeter of the site, and just make sure that that gave them access so they could observe what was happening on the edge of their property. But it was also a way of accessing all the entire outside perimeter road of the site, and that area at one point to just the left of Pad B was all filled in. So that was, future stuff that they were talking about.
Thank you. Sounds, perimeter patrol road sounds like a good idea on a site like this. All right, moving on to the deluge area, and this new concrete area has been painted for car parking and staging. So you can see civil staging, equipment staging.
Oh, nice. Didn't
some
notice
bikes,
that.
some places for fleet. I'm imagining that's SpaceX fleet cars. Have some
Fleet.
laneways and everything.
Nice. That looks really cool.
They're constructing Rio here out of Rio bar rather than using prefab mesh. And this is very heavy duty type reinforcement for concrete. And they've put the starter bars ready to join onto the cage to concrete this whole area where the crane was sitting previously. So this whole area is going to get concreted soon. We'll see more of these starter bars. I'm not sure, they call them different in America. In Australia we call these starter bars, and they can either be left over from the previous concreting, or you can drill into the side of the concrete and chemically glue them in, and they will get tied onto this steel and continue the reinforcement in that whole area.
Well, as of yesterday, when I was out there, there was a lot of concrete trucks leaving that particular area. They were dumping concrete there, so it seemed like they were coming from that area. So that might have already been covered up by now.
Wow.
They do move quickly. Well, this work's going while this work's going on, we've noticed that the pump was sitting here is missing. So it's believed they unload trucks, the water trucks here, and then there's a pump, diesel pump sits here somewhere and pumps water into the tanks via that pipe. They still haven't installed this bank, which we believe will go in there. So they've installed the new high pressure manifold on top of this tank. We saw this part last week on the ground, just over here, which was a little bit too long, so they would have cut and welded there, and it's a flange on here. This piece here we've seen come and go. It came in black in two parts and then went away and came back as white.
Wow.
And we have the vent going out here.
So this tank is full installed as of now, right? Or at least mostly installed.
We're not sure underneath yet, but yes. As soon as they're finished underneath here now, this whole system will be ready to deliver water again. While we're here, we can see a sandblaster unit in here, and Mauricio got a photo of these bags as an iron. What were they called, Mauricio?
I don't have the exact name, but let me pull it up here real quick because I did have a picture of that, and along with the other bag that was I know the other bags were Fondac. This one was something totally different.
I'm watching for them too.
So I have the bag here, and it says, actually, no, I don't have. It says Black Beauty Iron Abrasive Blend. And I can send you a photo on live comms if you want to see it.
From Harsco.
Filika, do you know what that particular bag? Any more information on what the bag says?
It's
I am not an expert on media blasting.
abrasive blend. I can search for that.
Well, you pulled up the Fondac one, the one that's by the OLAM. There's
Wrong one.
Yeah.
That one I can help you with.
Mauricio, you'll have to drop it in Patreon Lounge.
Yeah, so while I do that, I mean, I have a couple of questions here for you all regarding if there's a delay, and we'll talk about that later on in here shortly. Do you all expect them to retest the water deluge or test out this system here? Being that if they find out that they don't get approval soon, that they're just gonna do they're gonna run that system to make sure it works properly, being that they added a couple of things to that system that we're looking at now. What do y'all think, DJ, Philip? Any more testing on this?
Well, my thought on it is that we've done some modifications to the pad, at least as far as where the catchment areas are, that since we've added that last tank. And we've seen they've replaced a couple sections of Fondag, or with that, you'll see that coming up. But I think that the FAA will probably require them to maybe do another test to just see what happens with the water and where it runs to. And part of that will come up in the statement that the FAA published later. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes.
And talking about the bags that we saw there, that we are seeing right now on the screen, those are like rocks, and it's from like the iron thing, that Black Beauty iron. It's from what they are made, looks like, or the quality. There is platinum, glass, and many other things, and they come in medium, fine, and extra fine. And it's used for general purpose repair and maintenance blasting, including removal of paint, rust, mill scale, and other coating from surfaces. So that could be to work on the Fondag, or maybe to remove the rust on some surfaces. There you can see them on a very high quality. There you can see that they are coming medium, fine, and extra fine.
Looks like it says fine on the top left there. I was thinking,
Yeah.
what if they were going to put this inside of the tank and then run high pressure gas through it to just kind of blast out the interior of the tank?
Yeah, it could be. The fine one says on the page, utilized for new construction, light paint, and rust removal, and special maintenance applications requiring reduced profiles.
So an idea there is that they're blasting the steel before they weld and possibly cleaning out the inside of the tank. Bill, what do you think?
Yeah, it's used in a high pressure nozzle type situation, and that's what that tank and the air compressor are there for. And what it basically does is it's a sandblasting, I'll call it sandblasting, but media blasting, where it removes the rust in metal and paint, and leaves a bare metal surface that then can be refinished for protective purposes. And typically for welding purposes, they're generally doing grinding, which, because they want to get a different type of surface than you would use for welding, but that you would need for painting. Painting, you would build a rougher surface than welding. I think you end up with a smoother surface that you're looking for, which you get with a surface grinder.
So this means we are going to see some kind of pressure blast soon. Like the first one we saw, I think it was on July, before the first test of the plate.
We'll probably just see another test of the plates again, as maybe one that's all finished, would be my guess.
We can't quite see under there.
Steph, we didn't hear you. You want to say that again?
We can't see. We can't quite see underneath there to see if they've hooked up that manifold yet. Is that better? Can you hear me better now?
Yes. I think they did put it in though, right? Because they realigned that tank, that third tank that was misaligned.
It's in there. We just don't know whether it's fully welded yet. Sorry, that's what I was supposed to say.
I see. Okay, sorry about that.
So it's interesting, we don't see a lot of welding machines there, so potentially they've finished the welding, but they just haven't finished the testing, because you don't see a lot of welding equipment sitting on the pad there.
Okay, so we'll move on to the tower and the OLM area here. Obviously, the big change here is the ship has been destacked. I love these straight down images here. They've dug up more fundag, and we were saying earlier it's sort of coincidental, perhaps, that they may be in line with the plumbing that was installed here. I'm not sure if it exactly lines up. We need to do that would be right, because that's where that pipe comes out, and that's where that pipe comes out. Phil, you were saying about curing before this stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking that because they didn't dig down below the concrete surface, that particular area of fondag that they've dug out there just might have not have been mixed properly or cured properly, and so they're generally wanting to replace it because you can see it's kind of right in the middle of the area which gets a sustained blast. Now, you might ask, by looking at the picture on the left there, you see all that crazed area and cracked area around it. Why didn't they rip that up? I don't know. But they certainly didn't dig down and access the pipes beneath there. So I don't know why. It's just sheer guess that maybe that particular section of fondag just wasn't put together, mixed properly, or cured properly.
So any more questions, Joe, on the tower, the OLM, or the deluge system, please?
I've got nothing for you, buddy.
So we can move on to the tank farm. We can see that they've installed all of the top manifolds on the hippos, and those triple manifolds we saw earlier could be these down here. You can see there's 3 pipes there on each of these hippos. Somewhere down there's the locks.
Hey, Steph,
Steph,
you're
we're
going
losing you.
in and out.
Okay, is that better now?
Yes, ma'am.
It's probably my silly key button on the keyboard.
Happens to
So
me
we
all the
can
time.
see those manifolds we saw earlier with the 3-way manifolds. Could be these down here, DJ.
Oh yeah, it could be. Yeah, true.
And all of these have been installed on the last 4 tanks. Still
That
no.
last one I don't know has been installed because I don't see the pipe going to it, but
Oh.
I might be wrong.
These 2 haven't
The
been
ones in the
plumbed
back.
in yet.
The back
These
silver
ones?
one. Yeah, the one on the right. That one.
And neither of these have been plumbed at all. They've still got to have some locks and some nitrogen. These 2 are in the same state of installation as these ones. This set of manifold belongs to this tank, and this
Yeah.
set and so on. So we still have to see this manifold under here and here, here and here, and then there's still locks to plumb. Go ahead, DJ.
Oh, I was just going to say that we need to see the locks feeding one, like the one on the top there, being cut out on the black portion of it to be like a T and go to the subcoolers too, right?
But does it need to have that? Because maybe they're not using it for that purpose. Because in the back, there's no room for that overhead pipe.
Indeed, they're going to exactly the same. These will look exactly the same. They'll have to extend this pipe over to here.
Yeah.
Is there
where
room
they
for
go
that?
down.
Okay.
They may go down into the services trench and back up again, or they may come over the top. Discussing with a couple of people, they personally, I believe they're more likely to unbolt this whole pipe as one piece. It can be bolted here, and it can be unbolted down here at the valve down here, and then a whole new pre-fabbed piece installed. Other people are saying no, they'll cut the T's in here, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
Interesting to see what happens. They've installed the 5th pump and motor, and still the 4th and 5th motor haven't been wired in yet. We can see the wiring goes down under these boxes. It isn't there yet.
Yeah. True.
Nick Gazer, are the hippos piped in parallel or in series?
They are in parallel here. You can see one pipe feeds into them all in a parallel system. If they're in series, they'd go in, come out, go back in, come out, go back in, but they're all in parallel here, as are the pumps. and then the LOX comes out of the pumps. And up here, there's a valve there that can unbolt this manifold here if they want.
So why
So
is
it comes
there
out.
the pre-pipes, the one on the top white line where the pumps are? There's 2 spots, but there's only 1 free pump. So to the right of your cursor. Yep, those
Where?
2, and then 1 pump.
No,
So-
there's so 1, 2, 3, 4 pump. 5 pump. 1, 2. I can't count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pipes.
Yeah, but
And
then
again,
they
1,
have to
2,
shift
3,
the pipes
4,
over.
5. No, they just got to put those sections in. That section needs to be put in here, a new one, and a new one put in here.
Oh, they're going straight to the hippos. Sorry, I thought they were going to the pumps themselves. My apologies.
These pipes here go to this pipe underneath.
Yeah,
the
no, I
pipe
see it
underneath,
now. Yeah, I see it.
and then
I thought they were
comes-
feeding
comes
into the pumps themselves, not the hippos.
That's from the tanks on this side, through the pumps, and then out of the pumps into this manifold pipe on
Well,
the
if they're going to the
ground,
pumps, then my thing still stands.
and then up to the top of the hippos here and into the hippos. So you have LOX from the tanks along here, up here, and then into the hippos, and then out.
So, Steph, we have about 10 minutes left. Maybe we can start talking about the PEA and get PK involved in the conversation too, because I know everybody's interested about that, and I am too, actually.
Okay, just to finish off, PK, we've just got the other methane headed. The hippos, the methane manifolds have been put on top as well. And yes, please, and a pump installed. And yes, please, Billy, go on with the PEA stuff. Thank you.
Okay, there were 2 things that happened late in the week that were announcements. One of them was a meeting over on South Padre Island where the general manager, Kathy Luders, who was the general manager for SpaceX at Boca Chica, was speaking at a group of not concerned. It was just a public meeting that from the Turtle Group over there. At that meeting, she made a small presentation, and she indicated that it appeared SpaceX was going to, or had attempted and finished most of the 63 items that were on the list from the FAA, and she anticipated a license within a couple of weeks, and that's how she ended her presentation. And then the next day on Friday, the FAA came out with an announcement to all interested parties that said, based on the April 20th flight at SpaceX, we are all aware that there were 63 elements that needed to be corrected or modified prior to SpaceX filing for and receiving a modified license for the second launch. And then the FAA, as part of that announcement, also indicated that they will be doing a written evaluation of the 56 elements and also connecting it to the 2020 PEA and also involving the Endangered Species Act, because there are obviously some environmental issues that needed to be corrected. So the FAA is now concerning itself with whether or not the existing PEA is still valid or needs to be modified. And based on the fact that they're going to do a review of the 56 or 63 elements from SpaceX and talk to the Fish and Wildlife Service about the environmental issues and make sure that there are no concerns Until that written evaluation is completed, there will be no license for launch issued. And potentially, and again, just potentially, if issues arrive on the environmental end, they may need to do a modified PEA, which potentially has some long-term consequences because we know how long the last PEA took place. And if you modify the PEA, there might even be, public announcements and public reviews and all that other stuff to go along with it, or it just might be a modification. We don't know. So there is a potential delay of the next launch license being issued of unknown origin or unknown length.
Thank you, Philly. So that means we're very unsure when the next launch is. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
We felt very positive on Thursday that it was going to happen within a couple weeks, based on Kathy Luter's comments, and then the next day at 5 o'clock on typical government fashion, Friday afternoon at 5, they came out with this announcement that to all interested parties.
Well, that's interesting because I have a CNN tweet that says that the Federal Aviation Administration, and this is from yesterday, mind you, says it is, quote unquote, optimistic that it could allow SpaceX to launch its mega rocket Starship by the end of October. So we get lots of differing perspectives, just depending on the day, it seems.
Where did that come from, Indy?
CNN. I'll ping you the tweet.
Well, all right. So that's a tweet from CNN, not the FAA.
Correct. Different 3 letters. You're right.
And I'll reserve comment on the news media.
Okay.
Agreed.
I agree totally. Yeah.
Are they quoting anything? Did they actually interview an FAA official, or is it just to draw clicks?
According to them, it's from the FAA, from their conversations with the FAA.
Yeah, I mean the tweet that the FAA put out, it wasn't a tweet. I actually got an email because I'm on the FAA email list, and there's a tweet that's a copy of a tweet of that email from the FAA.
Right. Yours holds more water for sure.
And it says nothing about, if you want to read optimistic in there, you can. Or if you want to be pessimistic, you could. But, we know how long, how slow the FAA can be.
Yeah. Well, and it's only the same few people doing it for everybody, right? At the FAA.
That's correct. It's a very small group that handles all the space operations. I believe Dave had mentioned that it might be a group of, as small as 12 to 15, 20 people that have to do operations for all the space agency, all the space operations. So it's not a big group.
No, and there are lots of people trying to get rockets in space, that's for sure.
That's correct.
So we're thinking now, do we have an estimated time frame or do we not? Are we just saying now we just don't know?
Well, my bet is it's going to be when we have Crowfest. So all the
So the end of October.
We can be there at the end of October, yeah.
So
I'm hoping it happens before that, but if it happens at the end of October, I'd be happy.
Yeah, it'll make Crowfest very crowded, that's for sure. Get to see all sorts of people we've never known before or even talked to. It'd be kind of cool, actually.
It would be.
And with that...
Okay.
Go ahead.
Joe, is there any more questions or donations, please, for the launch sites?
I absolutely want to thank Rocket Profit, our very own wonderful Blue Mod in chat there, for gifting 10 memberships. That's amazing support. Thank you, sir. John Dupker has a super chat for $5. Perhaps maybe it's not his $5. Maybe it's Victoria's allowance money for the week. DStack for pre-flight preps and checkouts. What exactly do they prep and check? The little one wants to know.
Okay, so a couple of important things need to happen for a flight of this rocket. We need to have the flight termination system installed, which is dangerous explosives that we don't want to have on the ship until it's actually ready to launch, because you don't want to have explosives sitting around, do you? And we need to put the red flight recorders on the previous flight. They were on the external of the ship. They could be internal, but they're probably still going to be mounted on the outside again. Final checks, just make sure all the nuts and bolts and wires are all plugged in and done up nice and tight is probably about it. And thanks for your question. That was a good question.
I might want to add one thing that somebody had mentioned about the turtle season. The turtle season is spring through, I believe, late June, somewhere in that range. And in addition to that, the turtles population has been increasing. So SpaceX has not impacted the turtle population. So that's a side thing that's a positive for the environmental piece.
So like at Kennedy, because this area is now a rocket launch area, there's a lot less potential for future urban development. So these rocket launch sites can actually be good for the nature. And I'm pretty sure at Kennedy that is a nature reserve as well, and it's thriving because of the lack of people being able to build around the area.
That's a great point to make.
Joe, you got
I'm
more?
looking at the wrong part.
I got nothing else, my friends.
Do you want to start us off then, Joe? Because we are at the end of the 2 hours.
Well, that will be Astro Joe signing off. I would like to say, well, before everybody else signs off, main engine cut off, stage separation confirmed. Love you, bye.
And we're going to come right back to you for that, my friend. Sorry. And with that, I'll also sign off and say thank you all for joining us this week. Hopefully, we will be able to join us next week. Hopefully, we'll have Zach with us too, and we can have some more conversation about some very interesting things happening at Starbase in Texas. And DJ, I'll throw it to you.
Thank you, Indy. Thank you, everyone, for being here, hearing us. And thank you to Joe, Steph, Indy, Mauricio, Philakid, everyone. I love you guys. It is a pleasure to be talking about Starship and Starbase and everything that's happening here every week. So thank you guys so much. See you and bye-bye. Send it over to Philakid.
Have a good week, everybody, and see you next week. And thanks for the opportunity to give you some input. And we'll talk to you all later. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for joining us, PK. Steph, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'd like thank you, PK and DJ and Mauricio and Indy, and that was my first show. I was fairly happy with it, and I'll hand it over to Mauricio. Thank you all for joining us.
Yes, thank you everybody for joining us today for episode 91. Thank you, Stephanie, for driving, and the rest of the team, Indian Star, Philakir, DJ, Joe, and enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much. I'll pass it along to who's next? Who's
Joe's going to sign us off. Yep.
All right. Sorry for jumping the gun there. Thank you, Mauricio. Thanks for all the awesome work you do for everybody every single week. Losing sleep. You're just the best, man. Invaluable to the Starship community. Thank you.
Here.
Stephanie, great job. You did a great job today. Thanks for driving, narrating. Indy, DJ, Philakid, we appreciate y'all. Main engine cutoff. Stage separation confirmed. Love you. Bye.